Hey, Bill, you know, the last few days here at the ranch with all the shooting we've been doing, I've noticed you've got some pretty interesting steel targets. What's the deal on these?
Ken, you know, just like most ranges, we had a bunch of steel on the range because it's, you know, you get a lot more shooting in than you can on paper, having to go down range of tape all the time. You know, it's a lot easier to just paint a little bit or just shoot steel. But then, you know, our group of shooters, we kept noticing that a lot of people just get happy with hitting anywhere on a piece of steel.
Hit that edge and they're satisfied.
Oh yeah, they're as happy with this hit as they are that hit. Yeah. And so I got to think, well, you know, for our training here, we should have scorable steel targets. And so started, you know, thinking about, you know, okay, how can we have scorable steel targets and you know, still keep them safe? Well, I don't have the first generation on display here because it seemed like a good idea at the time. It was scorable, but we got fragged a lot. So that one went down the tubes, you know, real quick. Okay, so the next idea, let's just cut out the center and put the center plate behind it. And so, you know, once the bullet hits in the center, it just goes down behind it and, you know, that sort of thing. This one's relatively safe. It's safe to shoot at 10 yards, no issue. But the problem is it's extremely expensive to manufacture. And then if you have a bolt break, and it takes quite a while, you got range time down trying to fix the target. So you either got spare targets or you have range downtime. So, you know, at one point we said, well, why don't we try just, you know, cutting scoring zones in there? And my first impression was, man, we're gonna get some splatter on that stuff. And so I started doing a bunch of research then on target angle in relation to the bullet impact. You know, I mean, and found out if you put at least 28 degrees angle on the target, you can get by with putting these slits in there without getting any splatter back. I mean, I've shot this target as close as like 3 yards. You know, shot it quite a bit at 7, and so without any issues. So this is like third generation right here. This is what we've been using on the range most of the time. And how we've been scoring it is like this. We've been, anything in the if you're shooting for a torso hit, anything in here is no added time. Anything else on the faceplate, we add a second. If they miss the whole target, we add 2 seconds. If we call for a headshot.
That's pretty generous, Bill.
Yeah, I know. And I'm Santa Claus, what can I say? If we call for a headshot, if it's in the 4-inch circle, no added time. If it's in this perimeter and it breaks a line that you struck across the top of the bolt heads, it's 1 second. If you miss the head, again, I'm Santa Claus, 3 seconds.
Oh. Okay.
Well, we decided that it's kind of difficult scoring from those bolt heads. You know, there's a little bit of, you know, some of the guys in our group are a little competitive. You know, it's like, oh, it's above the bolt, it was below the bolt. You know, so okay, let's just have a definitive line there. So we added another inch to the top of the target, put definitive line in there, and as long as their bullet breaks one of those slits, even if it hits right down here, as long as the bullet point touch that slit, is a headshot. Right. Okay. And so that's really the only change. We just added an inch to the top of the target and put the slits down and lowered the location of the bolts. And like I said, if these are mounted at 28 to 30 degree angle to the shooter, it just throws everything down and back. And you could, like I say, we don't recommend shooting them under 10 yards, but I haven't seen any real issues with it for anything coming off the plate. What you got to be very careful of though, like on a class where you got a square range, you got shooters.
Got to make sure they're all lined up.
If they're lined up, a splatter off this one will hit this frame and throw back at you. So you have to always
do a little stagger.
You have to put a little stagger in them like that to make sure the splatter off this one doesn't hit that one and come back, you know, splattered to somebody. So that's one of the things you got to be conscious of. So we'll have that available soon and have this product on the market before long.
AR500?
Yes, it's AR500 steel. It's rifle rated steel. It's overkill for a handgun, but you don't get, I mean, like this target here, there's no telling how many thousand rounds this target has been shot already. I mean, these 2 targets here have been shot thousands of rounds, and you notice there's no surface damage whatsoever to the face of the steel.
Laser cut, water cut, do you know anything about how they cut them out?
It's my understanding this is cut with a laser.
Laser, cool.
Yeah.
Great idea. I mean, we both know that if you're buying paper targets, which we've all used a ton of, over a while the cost really mounts up. You can't leave them out in the rain. If it's a windy day, they can get blown away. You got to go up and tape. Boy, the can of spray paint, and I know it's one of the things you've done for a couple of years, Most people use white, and it doesn't cover very well. But if you go to kind of like an ivory or an off-white, it does a much better job of covering up the targets.
Yeah, we're using almond here, which is even got a little more pigment than ivory, and it covers just a little
like a
bit,
tan,
bit better. And I'm glad you mentioned that, about the wind and stuff like that. Big advantage if it's drizzling rain. Paint will still stick to it fairly good if it's just a slightly damp. So on a drizzly day, it's much better than paper when you're shooting.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because the tape won't stick on the wet
tape
paper.
won't stick at all. And of course, if it's pouring down rain, you've always got the default. You still got the full target to shoot at. So you're not totally shut down on a training day if it's pouring down rain.
Well, I think this is probably the coolest idea I've seen in steel targets. I mean, like you dabbled with them and used them in classes and stuff. That's pretty. I've obviously took a few rounds downrange to get there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great idea. I think you're going to do well with it.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.